Welcome to the Lex Buds and Pick and Roll podcast. I'm one of your two co-hosts, Brandon.
And with you as always is Tyler.
Tyler, we are back for episode number 60. Can you tell me about the number 60?
Well, episode 60, this is the Nicolas Cage edition. Of course, the great Nicolas Cage movie Gone in 60 Seconds. One of his many epic films. What's your favorite Nicolas Cage movie? I think I know the answer, but...
I mean, there's only one. There's only one, and that's Con Air. I think we all know that.
Yeah, but did you not think that Nicolas Cage would be the biggest action star? He had Con Air, and then he had Face Off. I mean, those were two pretty big movies back to back. You kind of thought Nicolas Cage would be bigger, and then something just happened.
Stuff happens, Tyler. The world moves on. Nicolas Cage, I feel like he's been in every movie since 1866. I don't know. It just feels like he's like a vampire, man. He never ages. He looks the same. It's kind of weird. But we've got a lot to talk about on this episode, Tyler. We're going to talk about the name, image, likeness executive order from Governor Beshear, Devin Booker and Bam Adebayo going to the Olympics. We are talking about incentivizing people to go back to work, and how nice is the state of Kentucky. We're going to tell you that, plus the Calipari player bracket. And have you ever wondered what's in your tuna salad from Subway?
I'm guessing it's not tuna salad, judging by the way you said that.
You're going to have to stick around for that. It's going to be very interesting. So a lot of random stuff to cover, but a lot of fun things, a lot of news. But I'm going to ask the man that's wearing a Blockbuster Video t-shirt how his week went first.
Well, in honor of Blockbuster, I've watched a lot of movies this weekend in television because I am living by myself right now, because we were supposed to take a family trip to Dollywood this weekend. We're supposed to have a little 4-day trip. However, as was mentioned last week, I had a fall and hurt my knee, so I was unable to walk through a theme park. So I got to stay home, which, sad to miss out on the family trip. But I will say it has been a very interesting experience as someone who has not been by themselves for 5 years, since we had our firstborn. It's really weird. I don't know what to do. So I've just resorted to watching lots of TV.
That's good. What's the best thing that you watched this last few days?
Oh boy. Let me tell you, I've gone through an entire season of Boy Meets World on Disney Plus.
Well, I'm glad you decided to watch something you haven't seen before and really take advantage of the time, Tyler. Way to go. That's how you do it. You got
all
this.
Expand my horizons.
You got streaming option after streaming option, thousands of movies, TV shows, award-winning shows. And what do? You go back to what you watched in 1994.
Yep. Season 2 is in the books of Boy Meets World. I can tell you all about it if you need a recap.
Oh, my goodness. Is Topanga still weird in that season, or is she normalized a little bit more?
No, she matured between season 1 and season 2.
That's a nice way to put it, Tyler. So
how about you, man? What's been going
on? Not a whole lot, Tyler, to be honest with you. We're working on some projects here at the house. Let me tell you this. This is kind of interesting. And I know people are going to say, oh, woe is me, cry me a river, Brandon. But I got to tell you this. So we're putting in an in-ground pool, right? We're not the first people in Lexington to do that, right? It's not a new thing. We put our name in October of last year. October, Tyler. Now, that was pretty far away. That's like 9 months, gone. Yep. And we called today. They said they wouldn't be able to get us in until late July, early August. We're talking about almost a year. I saw a Facebook post somebody put up, and they said, hey, anybody know who can put in a good pool for the summer? And I wanted to chuckle. It ain't happening. Yeah. If you want to put in a pool yourself, you better get your own shovel and start digging, because you're not getting it. It ain't happening.
It's like that kid in the movie Encino Man who was digging his own swimming pool.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a random reference that probably nobody will get, because nobody besides us have probably seen Encino Man. But
no, they have. That's a great movie. But I mean, it's just funny. But it takes a long time, man. These places are back up. If you're in the swimming pool business, you're killing it right now, because this is the same with every place we've called. It's not just this one. It's everywhere. They're like, yeah, you're out. Okay.
That's crazy. You think it's just because people have been stuck at home and they figured they might as well have a pool since they've been stuck at home?
Well, there's that too. And then you've got a lot of people that aren't going to be traveling as much as they used to. They don't want to go out in public. I mean, there's a good percentage of the population that will still wear masks and not want to travel out in public on vacation. So what better way to bring the vacation to you than to bring the pool home.
Makes sense. Well, that's a bummer, man. I know you were looking forward to having the pool this summer, but
That's all right. We'll have it just in time for Halloween when it's really good and cold. So I'm looking forward to it.
I hope you paid for the heated pool option.
Yeah, we did. We went with a heated saltwater pool. I guess saltwater pools are supposed to be good.
What?
Yeah, so it's not a chlorine pool. It's a saltwater
Really?
pool. Yeah, it's
So what's the benefit of a saltwater pool?
well, here's the deal. The salt turns into chlorine, but it's
Okay.
supposed to be better for your skin. You're not supposed to have to take a shower afterwards. You know how you smell like really chloriney after you get out of a pool? This is
Uh-huh.
supposed to basically alleviate that. It's supposed to be easier to maintain, and it leaves your skin feeling baby smooth.
Wow, that's fast. I didn't even know you could get a saltwater pool.
Yeah,
So all you need is some sand and a couple beers. You'll feel like you're at the beach.
that's true. That's basically the sand and the beers is about all I have right now, Tyler, because I definitely don't have a pool.
You got the
But
kids sandbox.
yeah, exactly. We got some of that kinetic sand, some of that they sell at the store.
Yep.
But like I said, we got a lot of stuff to cover, a lot of fun things, and I think we just jump right into it, Tyler.
Can't wait.
We had a really good show last week, and I'm looking forward to this Calipari player bracket. We're going to save that for segment 3. Segment 2 is going to be our new segment, but starting out in segment 1, I say we just hit sports. If you're ready, I say we roll.
I am ready to rock and roll, man. Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. So this one's pretty short and sweet because a lot of people have seen some news of this, but Governor Beshear signed an executive order essentially granting name, image, and likeness use for college athletes to earn money off of themselves. And Kentucky joined 6 other states in doing that with a deadline of July the 1st to make this happen before this went into effect in the other states. So Kentucky has basically caught up now, which is a good thing. But what do you think about this overall, Tyler? How does it change the game? Is it good for Kentucky in basketball, football? What is the overall impact of this? Because it's pretty big news.
Let me first say, my boy, Andy Beshear coming through, man. We were about to be at a huge, huge recruiting disadvantage with these states because all these other states that already passed it were SEC states. And it was like Florida, Tennessee, Alabama, Texas, like all the schools that we compete with had already passed this. So huge shout out to our governor for getting this done. And you got to feel like he was feeling a little bit of pressure from John Calipari and UK Athletic, really all the colleges across the state. But if we were at a recruiting disadvantage because of this rule, people would have gone nuts. And so I just want to give kudos to our governor for getting this done so that we are now on a level playing field. And I think to answer your question, this puts Kentucky, this gives us an advantage over 99% of the other schools we're recruiting against because guys are going to be able to make more money here than they would. Maybe Duke for basketball could compete with us. And then for football, I mean, we're not traditionally known as a big football school, but we have been selling out Commonwealth Stadium for years, even when we're terrible. People will buy football stuff. People will buy things that are endorsed by football players. And we're the only game in the state. So I think that gives you another advantage over states where there are college and professional teams.
Well, this could be taking effect right now, Tyler, because currently Jalen Durham, the number 1 player in the class of 2022, which he is, what do they call it, reclassifying, and could possibly be on the court this fall if he decides to fully go through with that. He's on campus right now. You think he doesn't know this? You don't think he knows this news? I think it's a pretty big deal. I've seen some rumors that suggest that Kentucky feels like there's a chance that they could get a commitment while he is on his visit. It's that old he's silently committed, right? We'll never know until he actually does it, but it definitely puts us in the forefront. I'm excited about it. One interesting caveat of it, though, is that there is an exclusion in there if there's a conflict of interest with other sponsors that are working with the University of Kentucky. So UK can choose to enforce that rule or not. So if you've ever been to a basketball or football game, you know that there's 50 sponsors. Like, we got the Kroger Extra Point. We have the Gatorade Ball Boy. We've got the Whitaker Bank Shot, the Hunt Brothers Pizza Timeout. It's like everything you could possibly think of. So part of me wonders, okay, everything is already sponsored at UK, like every major place that can fork over a lot of dough. Does that limit some of the options that are available for these players? But it may not if UK chooses not to enforce that. And I think they would be smart to leave it alone and let it be its own separate thing.
I agree. That is going to be really interesting, because Kentucky is a Nike school. So what happens if a kid wants to sign, do an ad with Adidas or any of the other sponsors that you just mentioned? It's definitely going to be interesting, but I'm glad this got done just in time, as you mentioned, for Jalen Duren's visit. You got to know the coaching staff was very happy to get that done. Let me ask you this. Do you think this helps Andy Beshear become more likely to get reelected because he has saved the recruiting status of UK athletics?
If he had done it a week before the election, yes. People forget stuff very easily, Tyler. We're very, we'll forget something that happened. It's way too early. If he could have milked it for a little bit and waited till right before the election, it would have helped. But too early. People will forget, or they won't care after 2 years. They'll just think that's the way it was.
Fair enough.
For better or for worse, that's for every politician. That's just general rule of thumb that I've seen. So, Tyler, speaking of basketball, what we got next?
All right. Well, Kentucky's basketball non-conference schedule starting to take shape. We now know who our opponent will be in this year's SEC Big 12 Challenge. Shocker, it's the Kansas Jayhawks.
Oh, good.
Who it seems like we play every year in this. I mean, it's not really a surprise when we draw Kansas in this thing. The game will be at Lawrence on January 29th. Brandon, you excited to see Kansas on the schedule?
Well, I'm excited to see our team in general. We've got a really interesting mix of players. We've got some good freshmen coming in. We've got solid transfers. We've got experienced guys. We got grad transfers. I mean, we've got a mix of just about everything on this team. The question is, how is it all going to piece together? Because you've essentially got a whole new team. How in the world do you make all of these pieces fit together in a way that's going to produce in a timely period? Because we only have like 6 months to make this work. You know what I mean? It's not like if you give John Calipari a year or two with these guys, I'm sure he could do it. I just wonder if we're going to have time to bring it all together and if everybody's going to be happy. You got guys that are 1 year grad transfers that came here because they want to raise their stock. Well, if they can't raise their stock because they're losing playing time to other people, that could cause some issues down the road. I hope that it doesn't. I'm just excited about the team in general. The out of conference schedule is great. We're starting out with Duke, I think in Madison Square Garden, I believe. Is that correct?
I think so. I don't know where the Champions Classic is this year, but yeah, we do have Duke in the opening game. And then you also have non-conference, just to kind of share this with everybody. We got Duke, Michigan, Notre Dame, either North Carolina or UCLA, and that other
North Carolina,
and U of L. That is a heck of a non-conference schedule.
It is. I mean, and I wish a lot more of those games were at home at Rupp Arena, but we seem to be fond of these neutral site games. If that helps you prepare for the tournament, that's fine. I don't really care about that much. But I'm excited to see how it goes and see how it plays out. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it'll be a heck of a game. I didn't know this, but do you know the last time that Kentucky won a game at Kansas?
God, I can't even guess, Tyler.
1983.
Wow, I was 1 year old.
Yeah, that was the year I was born. That was the last time Kentucky won a game in Lawrence. So if they can pick that one up, I mean, that's going to be a huge momentum boost, to win a place you haven't won in nearly 40 years. And then also, I want to point this out. If we're looking at the all-time wins list right now, we are only 4 games ahead of Kansas. So if we drop a couple of these early games, say Duke, Michigan, what if this game is for the all-time wins lead? What if we're like tied or we're only up by 1 and this game determines the all-time lead? I mean, people will be going crazy over this game.
Yeah, that's true. One interesting aspect, though, is that, you got to wonder if Kansas is going to have to forfeit some of those wins that they've had with all the stuff they got going. But for the time being, because it's going to take the NCAA 47 years to rule on that, in the meantime, it could be a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I'm excited.
But, yeah, absolutely. Tyler, speaking of Kentucky basketball again, Stephen A. Smith, I'm sure you've heard of him. If not, just be really quiet. You can hear him screaming from the other side of the country. He is claiming that Devin Booker is the next Kobe Bryant after his performances in the NBA playoffs. I mean, he's absolutely going off. And as a side note, Devin Booker and Bam Adebayo are going to be on the Olympic team, Tyler. People don't realize this. The Olympics are like just a few I mean, they're right around the corner.
Yes, next
They're
month,
here.
right? Just a few
Exactly.
weeks.
They are here. They are here. Tyler, what are your thoughts on Booker being compared to Kobe? And what are your thoughts on the Olympic team having two cats?
Well, listen, when you hear Stephen A. Smith say that Devin Booker is the next Kobe Bryant, your first thought is you just roll your eyes like, oh, give me a break. Like we're comparing Booker to Kobe Bryant. I mean, Booker is finishing his 6th year in the NBA. After Kobe's 6th year, he had 3 rings. He'd won 3 titles at this point for Booker's career. Now Booker might have one though at the end of this year. I mean, if you're having to pick a favorite right now, I think Phoenix is it. I mean, he very
Oh,
well
yeah.
could
It's opened
finish.
up very well for them.
It has. There's been a lot of injuries to some big players, and so Phoenix, it looks like they're going to be the odds-on favorite right now. So,
You know what Kobe also had after his 6th year? Shaquille O'Neal.
that's true too. It
Right?
makes a little bit of a difference.
Booker didn't have. I bet if Booker had Shaq, he'd have 3 too.
That's a fair point. He's got DeAndre Ayton, who is becoming a good player, but I mean, got Shaq. Shaq was the most dominant player in basketball in his prime. He was unguardable.
Easily.
So it didn't matter who you pair with Shaq. He was going to win some titles. So that's a fair point. But I mean, Devin Booker was our 6th man on a 2015 team, and now he's being compared to one of the greatest players in the history of the NBA. And the more I thought about it, you know, I don't think it's crazy. I really don't. I mean, because if you were an NBA general manager and I came to you and said, all right, you can pick any shooting guard in the league to have for the next decade, is there anybody you'd pick over Devin Booker?
It would be hard to I mean, Booker's on fire.
Yeah.
He's not the same player because, I mean, Kobe had, I think, a little better athleticism. He could sky to the rim. Booker is just a dead-eye shooter. He'll pull up from the foul line and just shoot it like it's nobody's business. Like, I'm not going to shoot a layup. I think I'm just going to shoot this 18-footer. It'll probably go in too. And it just goes in. I mean, he's unreal. He can create his own shot. I don't know. He's got a lot going for him. So,
yeah, and I'm excited about the Olympics too. I mean, we've got 2 guys. UK's making up 16% of the Olympic team.
I like that breakdown, Tyler. That's good.
But Booker's the hottest name in the league right now. So, he's going to get a lot of the publicity during the Olympics, and that's going to be, I think, a good thing for Kentucky.
Absolutely. Well, Tyler, that wraps up our sports segment. 3 topics, but 3 very good ones and very important ones. But we got a lot of news to cover. There's been some fun stuff happen over the last week, and it's just time to talk about it. I think we just dive right into it, and I can't wait to hear about this first story.
There's a reason we put this one first in the news section.
I can't wait.
All right. I'm sure most everybody has heard, but if you have not, Kentucky is getting international attention for a recent 5-day party called the Redneck Rave in Edmonson County. And the event was advertised as, quote, music, mud, and mayhem, with the latter getting most of the headlines. 48 charges later, including a man who allegedly had his throat slit, a woman who was strangled after an argument over a blanket, and there were people with severed fingers. Someone got impaled. Another Redneck Rave is planned for October. Have you got your tickets yet, Brandon?
Tyler, I'm afraid if you don't have tickets and you show up to the door, they'll cut your finger off. Maybe that was the admission if you didn't buy at the front. You know how they have the tickets where like, hey, buy them now and it's cheaper. If you buy them at the door, you get your finger cut off. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know. What a wild time. I'm not even sure that I want to know what all happens at a Redneck Rave, to be honest with you. I don't even want to know. You know what I mean? I mean, what could possibly be going on there?
Well, clearly a lot. But I'll tell you, I'm too old for anything with the words redneck or rave, let alone combining the 2 words into one. I'm not going to anywhere with mud or mayhem. Those days are behind me. Call me old if you want. But I will not be attending the October event, unfortunately.
That's unfortunate. I hope that we would have live coverage of the event.
Well, I'm going to need a pay raise first before I go.
Yeah. Well, on a totally separate note, Tyler, kindness.org organized a survey interviewing people from every state in the country to help find the friendliest state in the United States of America. And you know what number one was?
Hawaii.
Close. Kentucky. Kentucky
Wow.
was rated number one. And basically, they surveyed people asking them, would they donate a part of their liver to a family member? Would you loan money to a family or friend during crisis? Would you help push a stranger's car out of the snow? Just asking a lot of questions in general. And Kentucky came out on top in that survey, which is really interesting. Some really quick stats on the survey in general: 86% of the people surveyed would donate a part of their liver to a family member.
Wow.
72% would lend money to a friend in financial crisis, and 53% would donate their vacation time to a colleague. Tyler, does that surprise you at all?
Not really. No. I mean, having lived in Kentucky my entire life, as you have as well, and having traveled to many other states in the country, I think we live in by far the nicest state, especially when you get in the rural parts in eastern Kentucky. I mean, you will not find more friendlier people. I'm not sure about these people in Edmonson County though. Maybe they weren't included in the survey since they were out there slitting throats and cutting people's fingers off. But
well, they were donating people's fingers, Tyler. This survey asked about donating parts of your liver. So, I mean,
that's what they were doing.
Maybe in Evanston County, it's just a different culture there. They donate different parts of bodies. I don't know.
Yeah, I saw one of the other categories was whether you would be willing to pull a stranger from a burning car. Did you see that one?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I consider myself pretty friendly, but I got to ask you, are you pulling people from burning cars, Brent?
It depends on the situation. I mean, I probably would, but it would depend on the situation. You know, if there's a chance, I mean, if there's a likelihood that I'm looking at it and I'm like, well, this thing's getting ready to blow, but it hasn't blown yet, I would probably try it. But otherwise, I mean, if it's completely engulfed, it's kind of pointless. Because you're going to die too. I mean, that's just like trying to save somebody that's drowning. You're going to die too.
Yeah. Well, that's why we're the friendliest state, though. There you go, perfect example. You would pull somebody from a burning car. I did.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Alaska was number 6. I think that I'm looking at the list. I think that's the next highest rated state that I've been to, and I will agree. Alaska was also very friendly. I don't know how Georgia is number 4, because if I lived in Georgia and had to live anywhere near Atlanta and battle Atlanta traffic, I would be the most unhappy, unnice person in the world, because it is horrible.
You'd be ready to kill a man. Yeah, I get it. It's terrible. The airport's terrible. The traffic's terrible. But maybe they're just used to it. You know, I like Georgia as a state. It's a nice state.
But it is. Good peaches.
And our neighbors next door, by the way, we should mention this. A couple of our neighbors, West Virginia at number 9 on the list, Missouri at number 8. So just something to keep in mind.
The show me state.
Yeah, exactly. What we got next time?
All right. This next topic, this may be one of the more controversial things I've seen in our state in a while. I don't know about you, but my social media was blowing up after this came out. And I'm talking about the announcement from Governor Beshear that the first 15,000 people in Kentucky who are currently on unemployment, if they return to work, they will be eligible for a $1,500 incentive. Now, Beshear says the incentive is, quote, a positive step towards getting some people off unemployment and back into the workforce. Now, my Facebook timeline would disagree with that and saying that this is only rewarding people who don't want to work. How do you feel about this incentive from the governor?
When I first saw it, Tyler, it really pissed me off. Okay. When I first saw it, I was like, come on, man. I mean, I'm tired of incentivizing people that haven't been, there's people that have been working through this whole pandemic and just plowing through, taking chances with their own lives to go to work and plowing through. And then you're going to give it to somebody that's been on unemployment forever, how many months? So I let it marinate for a little bit because I thought, well, maybe it's just a knee-jerk reaction. A few days later, I still have that same reaction. I think it sucks. I think this sucks.
I love you set that up like, well, at first I was mad, but then I thought about it, and now I'm still
mad. Exactly. But I let it marinate there for a second. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, okay, there may be studies out there that say, this works. Okay. But, there's also another side to this, which is you de-incentivize some people later on. So you may be getting the initial, okay, this is going to work. This is going to get people off the thing. The next time people are going to say, well, I'll just not go back. This is why am I going to do that? And there's already places offering sign-up bonuses and really high wages to go back to work, and people aren't doing it. Is $1,500 really going to do it? I don't know. But I just don't like incentivizing the bad when the people that do the right thing just get hosed. I just don't like it. Even if it's work and scientifically proven, I don't like it because I think it de-incentivizes people later, demoralizes.
Yeah, and I've actually read some articles of I know Missouri was one, and then there are a bunch of other ones that have taken away the extra money that people were getting for unemployment during COVID, and those states are seeing an increase in the workforce after that. So there's definitely evidence to show that does have an effect. People in Kentucky are still getting the extra $300 a week or something.
That's a lot of money. That's extra. That's extra.
Right. On top of
that's additional. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. My first thought was, I see people getting $1,500 for returning to work, and I'm like, well, I've been returning to work every Monday for 15 years. Like, I could quit on the weekend, but every Monday I go back. Where's my bonus? But to point out the other side of this, if you just look at the price tag, you say, all right, $1,500 times 15,000 people, this thing's got a $22.5 million price tag. But this is all federal funds that were provided to Kentucky as part of the big coronavirus relief package that we all got. So this money has to go for something COVID related. So to me, there are a lot worse things that we could do with this money than giving it to people for going back to work. Colorado's doing something similar. They're giving out $1,600 bonuses. And I do agree with you. In a perfect world, everybody would want to work. And it stinks that we have to incentivize people to go back to work. But this is the reality. People don't want to work, a lot of them. So we could either stand here on our soapbox and say, oh, we shouldn't give them this money because it's, we're giving them an incentive that they shouldn't get. Or we can get all these people back to work and get businesses reopened. The gas station down my street has been closing at 6 o'clock every night because they don't have people to work the night shift. So we can sit here and say, no, we're not giving these $1,500, or we can give it to somebody to come work at the gas station so I can get gas past 6 o'clock.
Couple questions, Tyler.
Okay.
First of all, do you think somebody that's incentivized with $1,500 to go back to work is going to be at their job a year from now, or are they going to be collecting unemployment again?
Well, that is the worry, because if you read the details of this, it says that they only have to, I think, be at this job for 4 weeks.
That's correct.
So what if all these people just go back to work for 4 weeks and then get their $1,500 and quit?
Well, here's the other thing too. If it's federal money and it has to be used, it doesn't have to be used in this way. How about, what I would be in favor of, Tyler?
What's that?
I would be in favor of giving a bonus of whatever that amount is, divided up to all the healthcare workers that did not quit and stay home and stayed and fought during this whole last year. How about we give them the money and reward people that stick it out, so that people that are thinking about working are like, wow, if I do a good job, I will get rewarded. Instead of saying, well, if you just sit around, you'll get rewarded. What lesson do you want to teach to your kids? That's the way I'm thinking about it here. If I'm trying to explain this to my kids, they're going to be like, but Dad, blah, blah, blah.
Uh-huh.
So if I'm thinking about the lesson I want to impart on my kids, that's it. Give it to the healthcare workers. They're the ones that have had to deal with the brunt of people dying and full hospitals. Divvy it up that way. I don't know if it's $1,500 a person. Divvy it up that way. If they've been there since the start of COVID and all the way up until the time that Governor Beshear announced this, then they get a bonus.
I think that's totally fair. Yeah. And the people working at the grocery stores who kept the grocery stores open when this was
exactly.
All going down. But
yeah.
I get both sides, and people are very angry. I don't know about your Facebook feed, but mine was just, man, people are going off about this. So it has definitely struck a nerve with a lot of people.
Tyler, I've had about 5 or 6 posts that I've erased, thankfully, before I actually posted it on Facebook. Like I'll write it out and then I'll be like, oh, I better not do that. I better backspace that out, and we'll just
probably
save that for now.
You're a wise man, sir.
But it really ticks me off at the end of the day. But here we are. Tyler, moving on. The Biden administration says that it will not make its 70% COVID vaccine goal. 70% has kind of been the number that's been thrown out since COVID started to reach herd immunity with the vaccine. And I think reality is starting to set in that, there's some people that just don't want to have this vaccine for whatever reason. And that's totally up to them. But what are your thoughts on this? Are you upset about it? Does it make you more nervous that we haven't reached the goal to get to herd immunity?
Well, I think when Biden set this goal, I feel like most of us kind of thought it was unrealistic. And I don't understand, because Beshear did the same thing. He set an unrealistic goal of getting 2.5 million Kentuckians. So I don't know why Biden and Beshear keep making these unrealistic goals. I mean, have they learned nothing? I mean, the trends are, unmistakable. But here's what I don't understand. Why don't they just change the goal? I mean, how many companies do this? Like they set an earnings goal and then they adjust their goal. Don't say that you didn't meet the goal. Say we're adjusting the goal. Instead of 70%, make it 69%.
Of course.
I mean, well, if we could get all of America to 69, I think that would make everyone feel good.
Maybe we need to move to the next topic, Tyler. This is going downhill fast. A lot faster than I thought it was.
I'm sorry. I
can't
help myself.
No, that's okay. That's something. Is that your first or second bourbon, Tyler?
This is number 1.
Oh, so thank God.
Just wait for the jokes when I get to number 2.
I'm glad that was. That's not saying. I mean, the 70% number is a scientific number, supposedly. So it's not one of those where you can adjust it, because then you're adjusting the science. Right. I think the 70% goal was based on, okay, we need this number to feel really comfortable about having herd immunity so we can all get out and do whatever. But, at the same time, there's people that don't want to get this. And I totally get it. We had the discussion, I think it was last week or the week before, about kids getting the vaccine. And the CDC is getting ready to issue a new warning on both the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines about heart inflammation, especially for younger people under the age of 30. So, I mean, there's something, we're all guinea pigs in this, right? I mean, we're all guinea pigs in this. We knew we were taking a risk when we were doing it, and there is a small risk of something that is self-admitted by the CDC. So, I mean, it's, if people don't want to get it because of that, I totally understand. Most vaccines have a, 5 or 10 year experimental period where they're trialing this thing. We did it in a year. So everyone that got it took some sort of risk, and some people just aren't willing to do it. And I'm not upset with those people. That's okay. You're doing something that scientifically we haven't done before. And everybody's telling you that you're a bad person for doing something that's unprecedented. I don't feel bad about those people. I'm not mad at them.
Yeah. Speaking of guinea pigs, you said we're guinea pigs.
Why do you think I said that?
I am currently babysitting 2 guinea pigs right now.
Jeez. I feel sorry for those guinea pigs.
Hey, listen, I'm taking good care of these pigs. They're my mother-in-law's, because she had to go with my wife on the trip to Dollywood. So I had to watch the 2 guinea pigs. And I don't know how much you think a guinea pig poops, but it's more than whatever amount you're thinking.
Thanks for clearing that up. I've been wondering about that for a long time. Let me mark that off, man. It's more than you think.
If that has been keeping you up at night, let me rest assured, it is more than what you think.
Oh, geez. I don't know how in the world we got on this conversation. We started talking about vaccine, and then we went down a gutter road, and now we're talking about guinea pigs. All on the same topic, mind you. All on the same
I'm sorry. Listen, I've been home by myself for 4 days, so I'm easily distracted right now. I apologize. Oh, geez.
No, that's pretty funny. I enjoy this. We should do this more often. What we got next?
All right. This is another great story. There have been some great stories this week. I mean, you had the Redneck Rave, and this is probably my next favorite one after that. Have you heard about the former NRA president who was tricked into giving a fake graduation speech?
Heard a little bit about it.
All right. If you haven't saw it, the former NRA president, David King, was asked to give a graduation speech at James Madison Academy. Now, the whole trick to this is that there is no James Madison Academy. And the people who organized it were two parents of a student who was killed in the Parkland school shootings. And so what they did, they told him to come to this rehearsal for the graduation speech. And they just had all these empty chairs spread out, kind of saying, we just want to see how it sounds, test out everything. So he gives the whole graduation speech in front of 3,000 empty chairs, which each one is supposed to represent a kid who would have graduated this year, but died from gun violence. So they incorporated his speech, which had a lot of pro Second Amendment talk in it, and made it into a gun violence prevention video. So my question, how do you think Mr. Keene is feeling right about now? And do you approve of what these organizers did, kind of tricking him into giving this speech?
I'd say he's not very keen on the idea, Tyler. I mean, I would say he's probably a little upset, would be a nice way to put it. Probably is going to fire whoever his assistant is that booked this. Right? Most likely, right? They're gone. As far as the tactic itself, I'm not a big fan of it. I mean, people can certainly do it. I'm not like outraged by it or something where I think this is like the worst thing in the world. It's just not something I would do. It just, people have lives, whether you disagree with them politically or not, right? There's people on the total opposite political end of something you may believe in, but I would never intentionally waste somebody's time and have them fly or drive out to do a speech and do these things and do that. I don't know. I wouldn't do that to anybody I disagree with politically. So for me, I'm just kind of like, I don't know. It just kind of didn't feel right to me. I get their message. There's nothing wrong with their message if that's what they think. That's perfectly fine. So that's not my argument. My argument is I don't know. It just doesn't work for me personally.
It is pretty incredible that they were able to pull it off, honestly.
Yes, very creative. I will give that 100%.
Because, all this guy had to do, or his assistant, as you just said, who is probably looking for a new job, you just Google it, you would have found that this school does not exist. I mean, clearly nobody did any research into this to see if it was legit, which, I guess, why would you? You get asked to come speak at a school graduation. You probably don't think you're being set up for a gun violence prevention ad, but I definitely give them an A for creativity and being able to pull off a massive, running out the space, getting 3,000 chairs, getting it videoed. It was definitely well orchestrated. I have strong feelings on the NRA and think they are one of the biggest problems we have in the country, or at least a symbol of one of the biggest problems we have in the country, which is that lobbyists control everything in Congress, and they are definitely one of the biggest lobbyists. And I kind of like to see them get something stuck to them for once. So it was a little bit shady. I will agree with you on that. But if you look at all the shady things the NRA has done, I feel like they kind of had this one coming, to be honest with you.
If we're trying to go shade for shade, we'll be here all day because Washington, D.C. is full of them. There's a lobby for the bourbon you're drinking, probably for Blockbuster Video, the shirt that you have on, even though there's only one store left, I think. There's a lobby for everything. So if you're hoping that everybody that has a lobbyist gets it stuck to them, then everybody's going to get it stuck to them because it is a dirty, greasy, grimy place in Washington. It just sucks. So you're right. I agree. I like to see the man get it stuck to him, but unfortunately, there's like a man everywhere. It's crazy.
There's a lot of man.
There's a lot of man. Tyler, really interesting story here from the New York Times. A reporter took a sample of tuna from Subway. Have you ever had the tuna from Subway, Tyler, first of all?
I've not.
Okay, well, you're good. That's a good thing because they took the sample of tuna and had it analyzed to see if it was indeed tuna, and it came back inconclusive, and the species of fish could not be identified in the study. Tyler, does this worry you about Subway's meats in general and what you're consuming on a daily basis?
Let me first say, you asked me if I've had tuna from Subway. I hate tuna.
I
I don't.
agree. I'm not a fan.
I cannot even stand the smell of tuna. If I get within 10 feet of tuna, I'm having to fight back the urge to hurl. Like, to me, tuna is one of the most disgusting smells. I don't know how anybody eats tuna, but that being said,
Yeah, that's okay.
so
That's okay.
the results are inconclusive, right? So I
Yes.
guess basically, they couldn't tell if there really was no tuna in it or if it had just been processed so much that they couldn't find enough traces of the actual tuna after going through all the processing. But here's my question: if this wasn't true, if Subway truly does put tuna in their tuna sandwiches, I've not heard them come out in any sort of defense. I mean, why would they not come out and say, yes, we buy tuna. Here's our supplier. Here's where we buy it from. Here's our, releasing their financial statements to show, here's where we buy our tuna from, or showing a video of, them making the tuna or something to prove that this is real tuna. They're being awful quiet, which leads me to believe that there ain't no tuna in them sandwiches.
Well, I mean, to be fair, do you really want to see that video of how the tuna is made?
No, I do
Probably
not.
not. The same reason KFC doesn't release how those chicken strips come together, Tyler. You don't want to see how the sausage is made. You just want it to be breaded with a nice dipping sauce at the end. But, I think it's interesting with Subway because they're touted as being the fresh alternative to fast food. And if you got something that's processed to hell to the point that the labs can't even figure out what the heck they're looking at, that's scary. It shouldn't be inconclusive. It should be like, oh, yeah, there's a big chunk of tuna right there.
Yeah.
I can see it. That's tuna DNA all over the place. And Jimmy John's has gotten in on the action by basically bashing Subway on Twitter, which is
Ooh,
really
have
interesting.
they? I haven't seen that.
Their latest tweet says, yes, our tuna is real. High quality is in our DNA. Oh,
Nice.
bang. I
Shots
mean,
fired.
shots fired. And I think the way Subway is positioned as a fresh alternative, I think it just hurts their brand in general. That, along with Jared doing some really unfortunate things with children, they're having a rough time right now.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I haven't been to a Subway in forever. Do you go to Subway? I feel like I don't even know people who still go to Subways, to be honest.
Subway is a last resort for me.
Yeah.
If I'm on the road and I have to choose between McDonald's, Wendy's, and Subway, I'll go to Subway just because I don't want to gain 50 pounds. But it's not out of like, oh my God, I've got to go to Subway.
Yeah. And I don't, there are more Subway. There's 24,000 Subways. There are more Subways than there are McDonald's and Burger Kings combined.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I just don't, who is going to all the Subways?
A lot of people.
People
Do they still have the
traveling,
$5 foot long? I don't even know.
I don't know. That's the last great ad that they had, and I thought that was a decade ago.
Yeah, maybe their next ad can be them showing how they make the processed tuna.
I'd watch it.
Yeah, probably once before you threw up, but we'll see how they go.
That's true.
Yeah,
All right,
what do we
Brandon,
got next?
Our last story here in our news segment. An interesting study came out from the National Sleep Foundation, which, by the way, if anyone would like to pay me to sleep, sign me up right now. If anybody wants to study my sleep habits, I'm all in on these sleep studies.
Good to know. That's good to know.
Nonetheless, it said that 1 in 4 couples now sleep in separate beds. 1 in 4, 25%. Are you surprised the number is that high? And what do you think your wife would say if you said you wanted to sleep in a separate bed?
Well, I wonder if the 1 in 4 people sleeping in separate bed is that 1 in 4 people are cheating on their spouse and they are literally sleeping in another bed in another house.
I don't think that's what the study was for.
Well, I mean, that could be it too.
You may be right. I don't think that's what it was.
I'm a little bit surprised. I know that was actually the common practice, right? People used to have their own individual beds. If you go watch TV shows from, way back when, they had separate beds. You know what I mean? It's kind of interesting when you look at it. So, I don't know. Maybe people are angry at each other and putting people on the couch or something like that. Or maybe somebody's snoring, right? I don't know. Maybe there's an epidemic of snoring all over the country and people can't sleep next to someone like that. I don't know.
I think that's probably a big reason. It's just, I think people feel like they can sleep better I don't know. Do you snore, or does your wife snore? Do y'all have snoring issues?
No, no snoring issues, thankfully.
Well, I'm evidently, I guess I go in phases where I will just snore for weeks straight at a time. And I get kicked in the knee and kicked in the shin all the time from my wife trying to get me to quit snoring. And then sometimes I'll wake up and she will just be gone. She will go sleep in the guest bedroom to get away from my snoring.
Oh, that's
I'll just
funny.
wake up and like, where did you go? Like, you wouldn't stop snoring. So I get it. I mean, I can see. I mean, you go a couple nights without getting a good night's sleep, and
You're
you'll do
cranky.
whatever it takes to get some sleep. So I feel like
Yeah.
that's probably the main reason. Maybe, if people are laying next to somebody who's sawing logs all night.
Yeah. I agree with you. I mean, I'm surprised the number's that high. I just didn't know it was that high. So to me, I thought it was a surprising.
Yeah, it is. It's very surprising.
But oh well. Tyler, before we get into our John Calipari player bracket, I do want to remind everybody to follow us on social media on Facebook, Lex Buds and Pick and Roll, on Twitter at Lex Buds, and on the YouTubes. We have a YouTube channel. Just type in Lex Buds into the search bar, and we're on Instagram as well. Again, go to your internet machine, your internet connected device, and type in the word Lex Buds on pretty much any page somewhere, and we're probably going to pop up. And that includes in your podcast store, wherever you choose to get your podcast. Leave us a 5-star review. That helps our show rank higher in the listings, and more people will be able to hear from us. So I think I covered all the bases there, Tyler, didn't I? And leave a review. Even if you think we suck, leave us a 5-star review.
Yeah, please. I would. I love hearing how much I suck and how terrible we are. It will just fuel the motivational fire for us to try and get better.
Absolutely, Tyler. I agree 100%. But I think we covered all that. I think it's time to get into the Calipari player bracket. And for those that haven't been following along, a quick 10-second recap, Tyler, of what exactly we're doing here. Are you ready?
Okay.
10-second recap. Tyler Bentley put together a 68-team field, including a list of NIT players from the John Calipari player bracket. We put them into a 68-team tournament based on one-on-one skills, who we like more as a player, who contributed more as a teammate, and we battled them out. We're in the Elite Eight right now. And thanks to some voting from our fans online and on Twitter, we were able to break some of the ties that we've had in these arguments. And we're down to the final 8, Tyler. Last week, we had a tie between De'Aaron Fox and Karl Anthony Towns in the Sweet 16, with De'Aaron Fox coming out on top.
Yep.
And we also had a tie with the number 2 seed Willie Cauley-Stein and the number 3 seed Deron Lamb, with Deron Lamb coming out ahead of
another upset.
So we are moving into the Elite Eight. We're going to talk about all 4 matchups today. Any tiebreakers will go to Twitter and Facebook with our viewers breaking the tie.
Okay.
Does that work?
That sounds good. I'm ready. Let's get to the final 4.
Let's do it. All right. So this is the regional finals, Tyler. We've got John Wall versus Michael Kidd Gilchrist in the John Wall bracket. So John Wall's got the home court advantage here, Tyler.
Okay.
Who are you going with on this one?
I feel like this is probably one of the easier ones for me. I love Michael Kidd Gilchrist. If we were just ranking players who gave the most effort and had the most heart, I'm giving MKG the win. But John Wall was the superstar, revitalized the program, number 1 pick, All-American, yada, yada, yada. I got John Wall.
John Wall. Okay. Well, in this one, Tyler, I feel like I got to look at 2 different things here. I agree that John Wall revitalized the program and changed the game, but MKG was an unstoppable force at UK. When he got the ball, he was going to get fouled. He was going to score. If he was on a fast break, he was going to score, whether it was a 1-on-3 fast break or a 1-on-1 fast break. He was scoring the ball. There's no doubt about it. And he was good enough to the point where people overlooked his horrid jump shot and was still the number 2 pick because of everything else that he did. He was also a defensive workhorse. I mean, absolutely stopped whoever he was guarding, and he won us a national title, Tyler, to beat it all. Something that John Wall couldn't do. So in this case, I'm going to stop John Wall in the regional finals again.
Whoa! What?
I'm going MKG. I'm going MKG. And I think I laid out a pretty rock solid case for this.
But let me tell you something I've noticed about you during this bracket. You have been very supportive of everybody from that 2012 team and given them. I mean, you pushed Deron Lamb really hard, you pushed MKG really hard, Darius Miller. I mean, all those guys. So I can tell you give a lot of extra weight towards anybody on that team. I'm assuming because they won the championship, right?
Well, they're different scenarios. Miller is a Kentucky player that played for Billy Gillispie and then came through and won us the title. He stayed for 4 years. I think that's a different scenario than Anthony Davis, who's a once in a generation talent, and somebody like Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. Like I said, people overlooked how bad of a shooter he was because he did 50 other things so well and was the ultimate teammate in giving Darius Miller, the starting spot for a game.
Yep, true.
And if we're looking at the teammate factor here, he did everything. Who started the Breakfast Club?
MKG.
What was that guy's name? I was like, oh yeah, MKG. That's right. John Wall got to join the Breakfast Club the day after the Elite Eight because he couldn't get his team past the Elite Eight. So they got it for breakfast at Denny's.
Oh, so it's John Wall's fault that nobody could hit a three. Okay. All right. Fair.
Yeah.
Didn't
if he would have known how to take care of a 1-3-1 zone, yeah, it would have been good.
Man, John Wall hate. Well, I'm going to tell you, I think this is going to be not even close when we put this for a vote. I think John Wall will destroy MKG in a vote, but we'll see.
Yeah, we will see, Tyler. We'll definitely see. I think when these have gone up to vote, correct me if I'm wrong, when we went to the tiebreakers, how many times has my choice won? I just have to ask. Have you won any?
I think I've won one.
Okay. We've had like 8. So don't count your chickens, mister.
That just means I'm due. It just means I'm due.
Right.
Just like Kentucky was due to hit a 3 against West Virginia.
Yeah, that didn't happen. So all right, Tyler, we're moving down to the DeMarcus Cousins bracket. So that's going to have to go to Twitter and Facebook. So if you're listening to the show, go on there. We're going to have put a poll up. That's just what we have to do. So next we have DeMarcus Cousins, the number 1 seed, versus the number 3 seed, De'Aaron Fox. Tyler, who do you have in this one? Or actually, I'll go first on this one. Since
okay, go ahead.
On the last one. For me, DeMarcus Cousins was an unstoppable force at Kentucky. He had personality galore. And I would be afraid to fight him for anything. I feel like he's killed 2 people probably at some point. I'm just joking, by the way. That's not a real thing. But he looks like, he's got that attitude that like, hey man, don't cross me or you're going to get it. At the end of the day, De'Aaron Fox just completely abused Lonzo Ball, and that carries a lot of weight with me. He abused him and basically put that team on his back. He turned around from the point where he couldn't hit those long 2-pointers to the times towards the end of the season where I felt like, okay, those are going to go in. He was the king of the 1 foot inside the 3-point line 2-pointer. And he was so fast. And I don't know, he just did so much. I really like De'Aaron Fox. I think he's undervalued as a Kentucky player. And I like DeMarcus Cousins a lot, but I'm going De'Aaron Fox.
Wow, another upset here. Here's the thing with Fox. I feel like anytime we talk about De'Aaron Fox, we always reference the game against Lonzo Ball for good reason. I mean, he had 39 points and didn't even make us a 3-pointer. That was all 2-pointers, layups, and free throws. I mean, it was a dominant performance. But what is your other De'Aaron Fox memory?
He was the leader of the second best team in the country at that point in the tournament, who happened to run into the buzzsaw of the number 1 best team in the tournament and had us on the brink, aside from the Luke May shot at the end of the game. It wasn't just that one game. That's the one game where everybody said, oh, Lonzo got his ass kicked. But it was well before that where he was carrying a team that I think overall, even though they were the second best team that year, they had a lot of really gaping holes in the team. I don't think that was a complete team, and he was still the leader and able to do things to make them, up to that point, the second best team in the country. So it's not just that one game for me. He was dominating hardcore.
Okay, that's fair. I'm going with DeMarcus Cousins because you knew every single night what you were getting. You're getting virtually a double-double. I mean, he was unguardable in the posts. was a tremendous rebounder, just controlled the glass. And then you just look at all the huge games that he had. Of course, highlighted by the SEC tournament when he got the buzzer beater against Mississippi State. But, I mean, just a competitor, a guy who would run through a wall for you. And love DeMarcus Cousins. One of my all-time favorite players. I have a huge framed autographed poster of DeMarcus Cousins in my basement. So
you're biased. This is a biased argument, Tyler. I call foul. No, I'm just kidding. There's a reasonable argument.
Yeah, to argue your point, I mean, you said De'Aaron Fox's team was the second best team in the country. That DeMarcus Cousins team was either the first or second best team in the country and just ran into a night where they couldn't hit anything. I mean,
who was the lead? But who was the leader, Tyler? Who was the leader of the DeMarcus Cousins team?
Probably Wall.
Okay, who was the leader of the De'Aaron Fox team?
Fox.
Moving on to the next one. This is going up to a tiebreaker.
All right, let's do it. This will be a close one, I think. This will be a good one.
Yeah, because I think there's a really good argument to be made for both. To be honest with you, I love DeMarcus Cousins' personality and this DeMarcus Cousins. I mean, come on,
Yeah.
Who doesn't like that? Give me a break. All right, Tyler, we're moving over to the other side of the bracket, to the Anthony Davis region, and this is number 1 seed Anthony Davis versus the number 3 seed Jamal Murray. Tyler, who you got in this one? Does his first name start with an A and end with funny?
This seems like a pretty big mismatch. Jamal Murray had the bow and arrow, which made me very happy. I would love every time he did a 3, I'd do the bow and arrow with him. I was just jumping around my couch shooting arrows at things. But it gotta be Anthony Davis, no contest.
Yeah, let's move on. Anthony Davis is going to win that one every day of the week.
Yep.
Yeah. To me, Jamal Murray, great player. I mean, an awesome player, but Davis is just an unbelievable athlete. All right, so Anthony Davis is going to play the winner of our last game here, Tyler. This is number 1 seed Tyler Ulis versus the number 3 seed Deron Lamb, who came out of a tiebreaker win over Willie Cauley-Stein. I love Deron Lamb. So this is really difficult. This is difficult.
Very hard.
This is really difficult for me. All right, because I really like Tyler Ulis too. But at the end of the day, Tyler Ulis was the best point guard in the country the year that he played. Tough as nails, absolutely tough as nails. And the bleeding eye image from the Louisville game will forever be scorched into my brain. A little part of me wonders what happens at the end of that Wisconsin game if Tyler Ulis is in. Still a little bit. I'm not bitter or anything. But I'm going to go with Tyler Ulis in this one, although you know how big of a fan of Deron Lamb I am. Without him, we don't win the 2012 title. He went off in the title game, and we still barely won with Anthony Davis on the team. That's how big Deron Lamb was to that team.
I'm a little bit surprised. I thought you might go Lamb there because I know how much you're a supporter of him. So
call me tomorrow, and I'll have a different opinion. That's why I wanted to get it out now before I change my mind.
All right, fair. Tyler Ulis, we've said it many times, best point guard in the country that year. Koozie winner. Unfortunately, lost in the second round. I mean, I think if you're making the argument, you look at Lamb, 2 Final Fours and a national title. Ulis, as a starting point guard, couldn't get us past the second round. But, I mean, granted, he had Murray and pretty much nothing else on that team. So I got.
You put Ulis with Anthony Davis, he wins a title too, probably.
I think that's 100% fair. So I'm going Tyler Ulis over Deron Lamb as well.
This is going to be an interesting matchup with Ulis versus Davis in the Final Four because it's kind of be like, you remember that picture they showed of Anthony Davis when he was a sophomore in high school when he's really tiny? It's going to be like sophomore year Anthony Davis versus senior year Anthony Davis. Before he took the 2-foot growth spurt or whatever he did.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. So this sets up the Final Four matchup again, Tyler. Anthony Davis versus Tyler Ulis, and we have 2 tiebreakers with John Wall versus MKG and Cousins and Fox. So those are going to be up on our social media pages on Twitter and on Facebook. And make sure you participate because I can tell you that these margins for victory are razor thin. Every single vote that we receive on social media counts. And we're not kidding. It is like razor thin on a lot of these. Yeah,
I don't think the last few that we've done, they've been like 54-46 on the voting. I mean, it's extremely close. And I think it just goes to show how good these guys are and how strongly people feel towards the players that they like.
Yeah, absolutely. But Tyler, overall, I think this has been an interesting show. We uncovered the secrets of Subway tuna. We talked about unemployment benefits, two cats going to the Olympics. Andy Beshear, I think we talked about 2 or 15 times this show, but there was a lot of news associated with him. So that's not a bad thing. And overall, I enjoyed this show. It was very good. And hopefully we'll be back in person soon. We're going to get there, but you're still on injured reserve right now. Maybe next week we can get everything worked out. I don't know.
Yeah, I am. The good news, I don't know if I said this or not, but I do not have a torn anything. I did not tear my ACL, did not tear my MCL or my PCL or any of those CL muscles, whatever they are.
CL, you mean the ligament muscles? Yeah, right.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
You just said I didn't. I didn't tear any of the CL muscles.
I don't know any of these technical terms. Like they say all these words when I'm in with the doctor. I'm like, can you just tell me like I'm 5? I don't understand what you're saying.
Geez, that's pretty funny.
But yeah, apparently I have essentially a bone bruise and a slight fracture. So I'm going to be no surgery or anything like that. So I'm recovering, but he said I need to stay off of it for a couple more weeks. And I'll have to do a little bit of physical therapy, and then after maybe a month or 2 of that, I should be good as new.
Well, I want to play a little John Calipari when people say, "How's Tyler doing?" I'll say, "Tyler who? Tyler? I host the show.
I haven't seen him.
Haven't talked to him. Don't know anything about it. Sorry."
That's great.
I'm going to pull one of those
because it's so true.
And we're going to have to do some Twitter post of you like in a boot. Is he in a boot? Is he in a boot for the show today? I don't know. What's going on?
I'll post a Snapchat of me in the boot.
Absolutely. But fun show all around, Tyler. As always, don't forget to follow us on at LexBuds on Twitter, Facebook LexBuds and Pick and Roll, on YouTube LexBuds, Instagram LexBuds, everything LexBuds. Type it into your machine, you'll find us, and we will see you on the next episode.
Stay classy,
Stay
Kentucky.
classy, Kentucky.